following is a Comfortably Zoned Radio Network production.
Thank you, Tally Olson. We are back. Canna Chat in the Zone. I'm Ralph Tyko of the Comfortably Zoned Radio Network. It's been a while. We have a guest, a returning guest, Melodye Montgomery. How are you?
How you doing, Ralph? I'm well. I feel like I have a little bit of allergies going on. I'm a little stuffy and scratchy, but let's talk anyway.
Yeah, let's talk. I'm going to use this occasion to announce a project that I have going that I think is really terrific, if I do say so myself. It's called Ziggys List, after Ralph Zig Tyko, I might add. And what it is, I'm compiling a list, an Angie-type list, of folks in the East Bay area who provide goods and services who would be, under the right circumstances, willing to exchange their goods and services for cannabis products, and kind of a barter thing, if you'll excuse the expression. But there are folks out there who who exchange goods for services, and we're going to compile a list of them. It's going to be a subscription website, and we're all going to have access to folks who are 420 positive, which automatically makes them more of a pleasure to deal with than your average bear. And Melodye's a good example. 420 folks are terrific. I'm just going to say that. It becomes a mindset. It's a community of sharing. And I'm loving the drug of choice that I made. It's not a drug, it's an herb. I didn't know it at the time. I smoked for years just to get a buzz. I didn't realize what a mental help, what a help it is to mental acuity, to what a sedative it is, what a terrific sedative it is, what a meditative tool. You can get into your own head easier, and it's terrific. And I want, Melodye, if you would talk a little bit about whether or not you agree with what I've been rambling about.
Good ramble.
All right.
I do agree. I think that's one of the special things about our community is that we're a group of people that care about and take care of each other. And the community seems to feel more like a family. So,
right.
Yeah, I do agree that we are indeed a special group.
Yeah. Boy, it almost, I glow with that, because if you're going to be a member of society, you have to have some folks to ground you. Let's put it that way. Folks that you can depend on, that you can go to for advice, for a hug. How about that? It's nice. It's nice. Melodye, you're involved in a program that helps seniors, like my dear old self, get the most out of cannabis. And it isn't just smoking anymore. It's all kinds of oils and herbs and medicines and this, that, and the other thing. Would you alleviate people's concerns about vaping? That's been in the headlines in the past week or so, 2 weeks actually. What's going on?
Oh, I don't want to alleviate people's concerns. I want to make them aware that there is a problem and make sure that they get the right medicine for themselves. there are companies that are doing and have been for a long time, whether it's tobacco, nicotine related, or cannabis related. When they make the vape cartridges, the oil that they put in there is often too thick by itself to be vaporized, and so they are putting additives into that oil. The one that's really going on right now that people have been talking about is the coconut oil additive, MCT additive. Things are okay for you to eat, and they're made for you to eat. That doesn't mean that they're safe for you to smoke. So we just want people to be really aware when they're buying their vape pens to buy something that doesn't have any additives in it.
Okay.
No added.
When legalization came about, and it's been about a year and a half, almost 2 years now, one of the things that we gave up as a smoking community was that we had to pay an added fee for testing. And shouldn't this have shown up when it's in their testing program before it hits the public?
It should, but remember, in the cases that we're talking about, a lot of the folks are not using regulated products.
Oh, okay.
And not all states regulate like California regulates.
Black market products that aren't regulated.
Yes, and not all. Well, in some cases, and not. Remember that not all states regulate the same way as California regulates, and not all those cases of people being sick or actually dying, Ralph, were about cannabis. They were also users of just nicotine vape products. So
okay.
It's across the board. So I don't want people to think it's only about cannabis, because it's not. It's in all vaping products that you have to look out for. Just make sure that you don't want to be smoking or vaping the things that have flavors to them, the strawberries and vanillas and the different flavors. If you're going to vape with nicotine, you want to keep it to the straight tobacco flavor. Don't go with the fruity flavors. And when you're
by doing
vaping for
that
cannabis,
doesn't bring the kids into it necessarily, who those flavors appeal to and who are apt to start ingesting nicotine if it's flavored a little bit.
Yeah, that's true, and we also have to remember, I'm a little frustrated. A lot of the commercials and stuff that are going on right now that are just so down on the vaping of nicotine. It's like a big scare tactic. I want people to. I don't want youth to be addicted to nicotine. On the other hand, let's not ban adults' things to keep them out of youth hands. We didn't ban alcohol. We put some ages on it. We made sure that they can't sell it across the counter. Let's regulate it. Let's not ban things that adults are using because children are getting a hold of it. Let's pay better attention to how our children are getting a hold of it.
Okay. For those who don't know about vape, what's the difference between ingesting a vape of cannabis and smoking a joint, traditional joint?
Well, when you ingest a vape, what you're consuming, what you're ingesting is the concentrated product. Everything, all the medicine that has been stripped from the actual plant and concentrated into an oil. So you're not smoking the actual plant material, which can be better for you. It's definitely more concentrated, so you don't have to smoke or use as as much for the same effects, whether for medicinal or for a buzz. You don't have to use as much.
Now, tainted or not, what's the downside of a vape?
Well, for me personally, you don't get the same flavor. It doesn't last as long. The feeling is not. It doesn't last as long. So you repeat medicating more often.
Okay,
those are my downsides.
Get the high doses of CBCs and THC with a vape as you are traditionally?
I think that when it comes to CBD, you could get possibly higher doses with a vape because it's so concentrated. CBD flower is not the most concentrated of flower. When you're dealing with THC, sometimes you can come in the high 20s, maybe up to 30% THC on flower, where with CBD it tends to run more in the teens, down in the 15s, and so you actually have to smoke way more of a CBD joint or flower to get relief than you do from vaporizing the CBD oil. So faster relief, quicker relief, less product that you have to use.
Okay. I'm going to ask you a question that's a little esoterical, if you will. We're old-time smokers, and acquaintances, friends, not friends, over the years have always, if they find out somebody is smoking dope or has smoked dope, every interaction, what are you smoking now, wacky, everything you say, if you make a statement, if you have a debate, you're smoking the wacky tobacco, that kind of stuff. Folks would get a reputation in the community of this, and all the good part was disavowed. Now that it's legal, do you notice a basic respect for smokers, for the idea of smoking, the idea of CBDs and THC and all that? Has it become marginalized? Has it become almost okay in the eyes of folks?
Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, we want to think that, and we want to look at it and say the majority is like that. Like, if we look at Alameda, just let's take our little island of Alameda.
Right, we're both Northern California, a little island in the East Bay, across the bay from San Francisco, and across the moat from Oakland. Is that the way they describe it?
Yeah, I mean, right across from Oakland. Butted in between two of the most vibrant cannabis communities in California, and yet a little island that where I believe was over close to 70% of the people were in favor of freeing the cannabis and legalizing it, regulating it. On the other hand, when it came time to do that, we had a hard time actually passing the law. So I think people have it maybe a slightly better idea of it or a kinder thought about it, but when it actually comes down to it, we were still dealing with, I don't want that by my kids.
Right.
And
with the 500
we have a liquor store on every other corner. We in Alameda have a liquor store in every other corner.
Yes, liquor stores, bars. There's no stopping that, and that seems to be okay with society.
And we actually wrote into our law that the smell of cannabis is offensive. That's actually in the ordinance in Alameda. And I remember standing on the podium talking to city council and turning around to the crowd and asking, do you guys think it's offensive? And our crowd said no. So, I mean, that subjectiveness to it is still out there. It's written in a law that we just passed recently that was supposed to legalize cannabis, and yet we still have phrases like you can't use it because you can't use it in your apartments or in places that are public because the smell is offensive. And yet I live in an apartment complex where I walk out in the hallway and we have multiple cultures going on here because California, because Bay Area. I walk in the hallway and there's often smells of people cooking things that I don't know what that is, and that smell is offensive to me. But we're not banning them from cooking their food.
Right. And offensive to who? And what would make the smell offensive? I just
think that it's a stigma. It's still part of that stigma. People smell weeds, people smell cannabis, they still associate it with bad people doing bad things. And so they've been taught, ooh, that's a bad smell. That's a bad smell. If you're taught your entire life that that's a bad smell, then when you smell it, that's a bad smell.
Okay, you and I go back a long way in terms of our experience with marijuana and what have you, cannabis, not marijuana anymore. May I ask you if you were among those like myself that weren't interested in legalization? We were interested in decriminalization. Legalization has caused restraints, testing, illegal labs that don't give you the right numbers, this, that, and the other thing. That's become politicized. Are you almost sorry, like myself, that it didn't just become decriminalized? Has all of this been an unnecessary upheaval?
You know, I didn't like 64. I don't like the way it was written, and I think there was too many pieces of the legislation that the verbiage was actually much like I was saying about Alameda, that it was offensive, and it was written in a manner where we're going to try to let you guys do this, but it's still a bad thing. And yeah, I mean, the regulation is overly regulated. It's incredible that we take something that can be sustainably grown, a sustainable crop, and turn it into something that's plastic heavy because of regulation. Package heavy. I've opened packages of, let's take a little cartridge, a little pod cartridge that I use in my special batteries that are kind of the cute ones, right? It's a package inside a package inside a package. So the outside is cardboard and it's in a plastic package, and then in the inside it's in another little kind of a plastic shrinker wrap thing that you got to get out of there. So 3 levels of packaging that you throw all in the garbage. You rip that stuff right open. Rip. You read your package, make sure that you remember what it is, which strain it is.
Cut down another tree.
All for one little tiny cartridge that's, less than, 1 by 1? And we have all this packaging that goes around it. Me personally, for my product, Tenderhead, we're going to, it's taken almost a year to find new bottles.
Do a little commercial, Melody. Tell us about your terrific product.
Thanks. So I've developed and created a product that's an infused, oil-free, alcohol-free aloe vera gel. And I developed it originally for people that have locks and braids for your scalp, because there's no products out there that don't have any oil in them. So if you have itchy head, if you have any kind of psoriasis or any problems going on with your scalp, there's really hasn't been a cannabis solution to that didn't leave you with an oily, greasy head. So I developed this for that.
Topical if somebody has psoriasis, like you say, or eczema.
So yes, it's turned out to be so much more than it started. People are using it. It's marvelous for the itching and the burn of psoriasis and eczema. It will, if you get a burn from cooking or a dab burn, for those of us who dab and use those kind of electronic nails that are often really hot, if you get any kind of burn, you can put this on you, and by tomorrow it will be almost gone. Within a couple of days, I've had people have really big blisters and send me pictures and say that they've used it, and 3 days later you can't see the blister. We've used it on children, on babies. One of our friends, our community friends, had a baby that was born really large, like a 10.5-pound baby or something like this. And the baby had a really swollen skull. And there's a word for it that I can't think of right now, Ralph. I'm sorry. But the doctors told them that this would go away by itself in about 6 months. So we used my product, Tend Ahead, with a combination of a couple other essential oils, and within 3 weeks, that baby's head was completely normal and back down to regular size.
Whoa, nice. What
so
I'm thinking about is a 10.5-pound baby. Does it work on stretch marks?
It relieves the itching and the pain from it. It is good for your skin because the cannabis and the THC in it does help regenerate your skin cells. So if you get it on there soon enough and you're using it consistently with another oil-based product like a good vitamin E oil, then you'll have a lot of luck with stretch marks.
Is the only way to test that to have a kid? Just a little humor. No, we actually use it on our face. It's great for sunburns. I use it. My friend has what's called adult cradle cap, and that's kind of a situation where you get this really flaky skin around your eyebrows and sometimes in the creases in your face. And she uses it on that, and it just clears it up immediately. I have other friends who use it for their animals, dogs who get hot spots and just itch themselves into raw conditions. I have 3 or 4 friends that just stock up on it and use it for their animals. One of my girlfriend's dogs sees her bring out the spray and just comes and runs and stands by her waiting to get sprayed. I want to talk about how the process of legitimizing your product goes. But you mentioned something called dabs. You were talking about somebody gets a dab burn. You've always been informative on this show and kind of been our glossary. What's a dab? I know what a dab is, but talking to somebody from Illinois where
a dab is a way to ingest cannabis oil that's not in a vape pen. It's not in a cartridge. It's basically the same kind of materials that are processed well, and you use a hot, we call it a nail. It's not a nail that you use a hammer with. It's more like it's a glass bowl, and you heat up this glass-type bowl, and you put the concentrate a little tiny bit, which is why it's called a dab, just a little bit into this bowl, and it's hot, and it vaporizes it, and you take it, you ingest a hit off of that, like you would off of a pipe or a bong. It's like it's a bong, a water pipe type situation.
Can you quantify all the different ways of ingesting? A lot of people are into money. What's the most economical way to ingest where you get the most bang for your buck? And that could be your opinion. I mean, that's a very, very subjective.
It is subjective, but let me tell you some things that I learned when I was in Amsterdam. We always there's a lot of things we did throughout the ages, and us being some of the OGs, Ralph. We've done some things that smoking cannabis that are not the best practice.
OG, I'm an OG.
You're an OG. Yes, you are.
Oh yeah. OG,
I give you OG status today. There you go.
Thank you very much. Just that I'm alive at this point makes me number
right.
one stat. Yeah.
Right.
And by the way, that's a privilege. I note that whenever I can. We joke about our ages, this, that, and the other thing, how people age. You look good for your age, which, by the way, is a horrible thing to say. You look good for your age. Well, you think good for your IQ. What kind of a compliment is that for your age?
Yeah.
I'm 72. I'm never going to look 40. For Christ's sake, why even mention it?
So let me finish before we segue too far. Let me answer your question.
Okay.
One of the things that we learned is that there are different ways that you can consume cannabis to make sure that you get all of your medicine as opposed to just a piece of it. So the way that you get most of the effect is by an edible. You're not smoking anything. Nothing's burning up into the air.
It's so hard to quantify the high. And
it is.
A lot of us who smoke are into the instant gratification. Good, bad, or indifferent. I'm not going to make...
I feel that. I use edibles as more of a background. I lay them down in the back, and I eat them here and there throughout the day, to keep the aches and pains at a lower level. And then for the buzz, I actually go in for the smoke, the dab, the pipe. But anyway, so edibles, and once you, and be careful if you're a newbie, of course, be careful if you're a newbie on edibles. Don't eat the whole thing. Have a piece of it. Wait for an hour and a half. Then you may consume some more. Edibles, joints are the next best way that you get most of the cannabis, which is kind of counterintuitive to me, because
through a pipe.
Pipes are third.
Well, more than
yes, and it was kind of counterintuitive to me. Typically, with a pipe, you have the device itself is cold. Whether it's just a handheld or a bong, when you light it, it's got to go through all of your mechanism to get into your mouth and then down into your lungs. So the THC catches and gathers along through your pipe or along, and that's what the goo in your bong is, and why your bong water smells bad, and that stuff that gathers along inside of your mechanisms that you use. So you lose THC, you lose medicine in the actual mechanism that you're using, the pipe, the bong, the whatever. That's why the joint, you're actually smoking your mechanism.
But there is less harshness in a bong or a one-hitter or a glass pipe.
I agree. Now, you didn't ask me about that. You didn't say which was my favorite way.
Okay.
You asked me which way you get the most bang for your buck, and so I was just listing down the ways and how you get most cannabis in you throughout the ways that you use it. Of course, dabs are way up there at the top.
You have to weigh all considerations. It isn't just the high. It's how you feel about taking it in and this, that, and the other thing.
Yeah, a lot of people like big pipes, and I am a small pipe person. I only want to take a couple of hits out of that, and after that it starts to taste funky to me. My friend Eden likes fat pipes, and he likes to stuff a big pipe with a lot of cannabis and smoke one time. I'd rather fill it up 3 or 4 times than that. So it's personal, it's subjective, it's how you like to do it, how you like to taste it.
And a lot of it becomes...
To each their own.
Yeah, a lot of it becomes ceremonial. In the old days, you pass a joint around, don't bogart that joint, and this, that, and the other thing.
That's still here, though. That's still here. And that's part of the fun of it. I mean, we're still out there. One thing that we do bypass that we don't have to do that we did in the old days is clean those stems and seeds, though, Ralph.
Right.
when you had to put it in the big pan and then watch it strain down to the bottom and watch all those and listen to all those seeds.
Oh, yeah, and then separate
half of your weight was seed and stem.
Right. My lifetime savings is a bucket of seeds and stems. I just put it all in the bucket. I always thought if this stuff comes back, if they can find a way of processing, and in a way they have, people get THC from the stems, not from the seeds naturally, but they get a certain in cooking and what have you. This THC that is extracted from the stems. So
yeah, I mean, there's not a lot of it compared to the flower and the bud part of the plant, but yeah, every part of the actual cannabis plant can be used for something. People are using the leaf that we don't smoke. That's part of the outside of the bud, just the straight leaf. People are using it for juicing. Also use it to make topicals and extracts. So all of the parts of the cannabis are usable.
You're a professor, Goyle.
Yeah, it's a very sustainable crop, and we should start looking at it like that, as opposed to the devil's medicine.
Right. Melodye, thanks for coming on. Thanks for coming back repeatedly, and we'll do it again real soon. How about that?
All right, thanks, Ralph. Have a great day. I hope to see you at Tokeland Senior, right?
You're terrific. Thank you again.
Bye.
Thanks for listening, everybody. Comfortably Zoned Radio Network. I'm Ralph Tyko. The guest has been Ms. Melodye Montgomery. Peace out. The proceeding has been a Comfortably Zoned Network production. You are advised to keep your dreams wet, your humor dry, your children and grandchildren out of military recruiting offices and off the laps of clerics who wear dresses. Thank you for listening, everyone. Happy trails.